What is going on? My name is Mike. This is all about pressure washing. And in today's video, we're going to address something that I think is pretty important. And that is the fact that while we do everything we can to have a firm understanding and knowledge of each and every process we might come across when we're out there working, there will always be scenarios where you're going to have to just call an audible, use a little common sense, figure out the best plan of attack, but most importantly, manage customer expectations through the entire process. So the reason that I'm making this video is because I get questions all the time about all kinds of things, and mainly how to price, how to quote, how to get customers, and of course, how to wash various things, how to deal with specific stains or other issues that you might encounter when you're out there on a job. This one came from one of our How to Wash members. It was posted in the driveway cleaning module, and admittedly, this is not something that was covered because, like I said, there are things that are atypical, and obviously we can't cover everything in the How to Wash course because it would be nearly impossible because, as you guys know, new things come up all the time. But the question was, what is the best way to clean a painted driveway where there is chipping or flaking paint? Now, this is not going to be an instruction video on how to clean a painted driveway, right? That has chipping and flaking paint, but we will touch on that briefly. This video will focus on the importance of communication and setting and managing the expectations of your customers. And like this guy, we have run into situations like this in the past. Somebody calls, they get a quote for their house or their deck, whatever the case is. We show up and there's flaking paint. Obviously, you're going to do a pre-inspection walkthrough, and without question, you're going to see issues like this, which obviously throw up a red flag. So the next thing is you want to document everything and then have a talk with the customer. And most of the time when asked, they're probably going to say something like, yeah, just knock off all the old paint. We're going to paint it soon anyway. Well, knocking off the paint is something that we try to avoid at all costs, and that's why we use a low pressure process where the detergents do the heavy lifting for us. In this scenario, high pressure is probably required to knock off the paint and not something that we really want to do. So we have to start off by managing expectations. Now, this customer may be thinking that we're going to be prepping his property to be repainted because he said it was okay to knock off the paint, and this isn't the case, at least not for my company. Our job is to remove all mold, mildew, and other surface pollutants from the property. So we need to communicate the fact that we're not going to be prepping for painting. We are going to be washing the house, and if some of the paint does chip off, we have both agreed, the customer and the business owner has agreed that this is acceptable, and there's not going to be any issues after the job is done. They're not going to try to get us to repaint it or sue us or any of that, right? So if you do have a customer contract, I would definitely include this in there and get both a verbal and written commitment from your customer. And obviously the same goes for the driveway, the question that we got in the driveway cleaning module. This gentleman showed up, the driveway was painted, it was flaking, it was peeling, and he reached out to me to figure out the best way to approach it. So obviously I walked him through the setting expectations, making sure that you cover your own ass. But I also recommend that you consider the mess that you're going to make when you start washing any surface with the intent of peeling off paint. This isn't just mildew, it's not dirt, not bug debris that's just going to get rinsed off and run down into the soil or down a drain. This is paint that has to be dealt with, which means cleaning it up. And if you've ever had to try to clean up wet paint chips from the ground, concrete, anywhere, it's not fun, it's not easy, it is time consuming, and you have to charge accordingly. So not only is the cleaning process probably going to take a little bit longer because you're going to be dealing with more than you normally would, but the cleanup process is going to be even more time consuming, and you have to understand that you are going to need to charge for this extra time. And I think it's also very important to talk the customer through this entire process because their driveway ain't going to look good and it's not going to be pretty. They are going to have to paint it because there is no way that you're going to be able to remove all the paint, and even if you were, the customer would probably freak out at the price because it would be ridiculously expensive, or at least it would be, and it should be. The other component is, with almost all services, having a firm understanding of what you're dealing with, right? It's incredibly important. And in this scenario, like a painted driveway, we don't know what the preparation was done prior to that driveway being painted. We don't know what primer was used, if a primer was used. We don't know if they used an acid to promote adhesion. We don't know anything, right? So was it done by the homeowner? Was it done by his buddy? Was it done by a neighbor or a handyman? Was it done by a professional company? All these things come into play with how you approach the job. But when we're talking about any surface, specifically a painted surface, the first thing that you want to do is a test spot. If you've got dark colored paint, specifically blues with that magenta pigment, always do a test spot in an inconspicuous place because bad things can happen and you just want to cover yourself. And like every surface that you're going to clean, you want to utilize the right chemicals to get the job done before thinking about applying any kind of pressure. Pressure is good in some scenarios, but it can be incredibly bad in others. Excessive pressure can cause excessive damage. Excessive damage can cause excessive headaches, and those headaches can get excessively expensive if you don't do everything in your power to mitigate potential issues. So really the whole point of this video was to point out that you are going to run into things out there that you haven't seen in the past. And there are going to be situations where you're not exactly sure what to do. So it's great to have resources that you can lean on when you do have questions. In this case, it was the How to Wash Q&A section, but there's all kinds of resources out there for you. Also, it's very important to understand that as a business owner, you have to set expectations and do that from the very start. The last thing you want to do is overpromise and underdeliver, or in a lot of cases, there really is no conversation. The customer just has it in their head what they want, and you don't meet those expectations. And then they're unhappy, and that's not a good thing because bad reviews, no referrals, no follow-up, appointments in the future, and that's not where we want to be. So it's very important to lay everything out, have great communication, obviously document every aspect of the interaction. If you have a contract, make sure you use that, make sure to get it in the customer's hands, and as always, you have to charge accordingly. Some jobs require more effort, more time, and you need to be compensated for that. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you have a great day.